Can we please stand for the arrival of His Excellency the Governor, John S. Duncan, Minister for Overseas Territories, Mr. James Duddridge, and our Premier of the Virgin Islands, Dr. the Honorable D. Orlando Smith, OBE. Okay, good afternoon once again, everyone. We are here this afternoon on the occasion of Mr. Duddridge's visit to the Virgin Islands. He is the new minister for the Overseas Territories, and he is here on his first official visit to the Virgin Islands. This afternoon, both Premier and Minister Duddridge, they will give you their opening remarks, and thereafter we will open the floor for questions, where you can also ask questions of His Excellency the Governor. Premier?
Thank you, Arlene. Minister Duddridge, Your Excellency Governor Duncan, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be here this afternoon. It's my pleasure also to welcome to the BVI the Minister for Overseas Territories and Africa, Mr. James Duddridge. This is the first we here in the BVI have the privilege of being the first overseas territory he's visited since an appointment. We have taken the opportunity to, so far, show him a little bit of what the BVI is all about, and in a few minutes we'll be continuing that tour, so he'll have a good appreciation of what is done, what we do here on the economy of the British Virgin Islands. During this morning, we had the opportunity to meet with myself and members of the senior civil service, that is the Financial Secretary, my Permanent Secretary, Director of the Financial Services Commission, to discuss matters, particularly financial services, sovereign financial services. Subsequent to that, we met with my ministers and myself, where we discussed general topics pertaining to the BVI, including the development projects. We also met just recently, coming from lunch, which included the ministers of government, as well as 4 other people from the private sector, who were invited to be able to give the private sector aspect of the economy growth of the British Virgin Islands. In 1999, the Foreign Secretary signed the Agreement for Growth and Prosperity between the United Kingdom and the British Virgin Islands, which essentially spoke about a partnership that will see growth of both countries, the UK and the BVI. We have benefited tremendously from that agreement, that partnership. In particular, I want to refer to the agreement with Hertfordshire Council, where we have been able to, we have a twinning relationship with Hertfordshire Council, and in particular, they've assisted us with training of our athletes who go to perform in various venues. We've also had most recently contribution from UK, UK Invest, I think, the company.
Trade Investment.
Trade Investment. And they are, again, giving us assistance in preparing for the airport project, which we have been working on for some time. But they're working us now to further the development of that airport. That agreement has been useful to the BVI, and I expect that will continue because that is the agreement to work together. And I know that Mr. Duddridge has demonstrated a keen interest in what we do here in the British Virgin Islands, and indeed what he will see and observe in the other overseas territories. I'll be keen to continue that partnership to the benefit of UK and the overseas territories. And I'm speaking here today about the British Virgin Islands. Thank you. I'd like to invite the Minister to...
Thank you very much. Premier, Governor, it is a great privilege to be here in the British Virgin Islands. The Prime Minister, David Cameron, appointed me some 7-8 weeks ago, and one of the first things I instructed officials as that I wanted to go and visit an overseas territory, and I wanted that to be the British Virgin Islands. It is a great welcome I've received from you personally, Premier, and also from the Governor, who must have been appointed at roughly the same time as I, and amazing how much he already knows about the BVI. The BVI relationship with the UK is an incredibly important one, one that goes back into history and will go into the future a long way. I've found it particularly valuable here, meeting ministers, talking to people about the relationship between an overseas territory, its people, the governor, the opportunities of the area and the region. And BVI will truly define my understanding and relationships of the British relationship with overseas territories. And I'm looking forward. We've already packed in an awful lot today. I'm conscious I've got a lot more to do going forward and some of the exciting bits. If I have any complaint, I'm here for too short a period, but that is indeed an excuse for me to come back. Thank you very much.
Okay, we now open the floor for your questions. Please do identify, say your name and the media house in which you work with.
Good afternoon. My name is Zan Lewis, ZBVI Radio. Let me first say good afternoon to Sir, Mr. Doddridge, Minister Doddridge. You said you are here for a very short period, but you would have had a number of discussions with the Premier and other persons, including the Governor. First of all, did you have the opportunity to visit the work being done at the Cruise Repair Extension project? And first of all, what are your views of that project? And also, in relation to your discussions, how do you see the economy, how the economy of the Virgin Islands is moving in light of the cruise ship development and what is happening in the region?
I had a vast number of discussions on the tourism side of things. I have been down to see the cruise ship or cruise ship of the area where the cruise ships come into, spoken to the people that are doing the construction, and had a good discussion about both how that opportunity came about. And I think the future is very bright for tourism in the area, but particularly on the cruise ships with the expanded area that will allow deeper water access, more ships to be in for longer periods of time, in addition to the faster yachts. So I think tourism and the ships coming in will continue to be a key source of revenue for the area, but certainly not the only source of revenue. We've been talking not only to the financial services industry, but also local businesses that are driving forward. And that's been particularly interesting, seeing the expansion of tourism, expansion of the cruise offering, the continuation of the financial services expertise, but also a broader diversification of the economy, which has got to be right for going forward.
Good afternoon. Sean Rose, JTV. Prior to your arrival in the BVI, Minister Doddridge, you looked forward to discussing the territory's plans for addressing the challenges of combating illicit finance and tax evasion. What have you gleaned from the discussions so far?
Well, this is a first visit to an overseas territory. The issues are complex. The financial products are there for a reason, yet we shouldn't shy away that those financial products sitting beneath them sometimes are slightly more dubious transactions. I think the Premier's used the term, we won't tolerate unethical activities sitting beneath those financial transactions. I think you're on the record of Premier having said that before, and it's very much working together, not just the UK and BVI, but working together across a number of jurisdictions to make sure that businesses get the financial vehicles they need, territories like the BVI prosper, but also we don't inadvertently sow the seeds for transfers of monies that aren't the type of thing any of us would want to support, be that monies related to corruption, bribery, or indeed particularly conscious now with what's happening with ISIL and the world scene, terrorist financing.
Good afternoon, Minister Doddridge. Malika McPherson, the Island Sun newspaper. In your opening remarks, you mentioned that as soon as you were appointed, you said you wanted to visit an overseas territory, and namely the BVI. Can you tell us why the BVI was your first choice? And also, will you be visiting any other overseas territories? If not, on your return to the UK, do you think that this trip has equipped you to represent the territory effectively, especially in the arguments as it relates to financial services?
Well, in relation to BVI, I lied to you, it wasn't the first day, it must have been a second or third day, but to illustrate a point, it was early on. It's because I felt that BVI, no territory is exactly the same, but BVI has the tourism, it has the financial services, it also is prosperous compared to other overseas territories. I will also be visiting Montserrat as part of this trip, which obviously has other challenges, some which share the fear of natural disaster, but a lot closer, obviously. So hopefully getting an idea of two elements. One, here, where things are going very well, and an area that has been problematic, but on the up in Montserrat. In terms of visiting other territories, clearly, although rather like your government and my government, we don't want to spend all our time jetting around the world. Actually, it's sometimes much more effective to work at the Joint Ministerial Council level with colleagues across the board, or the wonderful system of the United Nations, where all world leaders and slightly more junior leaders go to discuss world affairs and then starburst out. So it is good to see for yourself what's going on, but I'm part of a broader team and would hope to travel a little bit more, but I'm not going to judge my performance by the number of countries I visit.
Minister Doddridge, I know you would have had discussions with the governor, right? And there are a number of issues currently before the governor for him to make a decision on. One of them is the Commission of Inquiry into the Cruise Ship Repair Development Project, and also the petition was recently handed to the governor from the police, alleged impropriety within the police force. First of all, were these issues discussed when you met the governor, and what were your concerns at this point with those two issues?
Well, the governor, one of the functions of the governor is to brief Her Majesty's government constantly, not just for arriving here. So the issues you're aware of, that you've raised, I was aware of before. I was aware of immediately prior, and have formed some basis of discussion. But they're perhaps not a subject for the Minister for the Overseas Territories. They are a matter for the governor, but I would gently suggest perhaps not an issue for today, but it's something for long term. And having the governor here as part of the constitutional framework means that the British government is represented in that kind of curious role you have sitting between two bosses, or sitting alongside two bosses, Governor.
Indeed.
It's a curious constitutional position, but I think the right one. There are important issues you raise, but ones that Westminster ministers shouldn't be meddling with. We're aware of them, the governor's dealing with them alongside the Premier, and I think that's the right way for these things to happen.
Okay, at this time I'd like to thank you, the members of the media, for your questions, and I know that our leaders have a lot of ground to cover because there's still much more in the BVI for them to see. So at this time we would like to invite you to stand as they prepare to make their exit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.